Alright, this video is going to cover the quiz we just took, the graded quiz, because I've got a sub today. Alright, so let's do this. So the first question, recall the math static method main returns the value of the smaller of the two integers. If a, b, and c and m are integer variables, which of the following best describes the behavior of a program with the following statement? M equals math.min, and then you've got math.min AC, math.min BC. Okay, we're assuming that this is how you do a minimum number of like A and C. So that's going to return A or C right here in this parameter of this min right here. Okay, and this will return the minimum of B or C in this parameter right here of min. So this is one of the parameters. This is the other parameter in here, okay? And so A or C will be returned here, and then B or C will be returned here, and then it will do the minimum of whatever the minimum of A or C or B or C does. So, you know, the statement has a syntax error, will not compile. No, that doesn't seem to be the case. The program will run, but go and no. A will get the smaller value of A and C. B will be this. No, it's just going to return A or C. D, M will be assigned the smallest value of A, B, and C. So D is your answer. 2. I was surprised. This one should be a really easy one. If we look at this, consider the following method. It's fun, and it gets accepted. A and B gets accepted in, and then we add up A and B. We add B to A and A to B. So down here we have an int x is 3, y is 5. 3 gets passed, 3 and 5 get passed in as x and y. The minute x and y get passed in here, they become A and B. So A is now 3, and B is 5. So we add those up and you get A is 8, B is 8. So I think a lot of people put D down. But what is it asking? You got to read what the question. What is the output? Well, the only place it outputs is right here, and it's outputting the variables x and y, which are integers outside of this method right here. So it's not asking for A or B, it's asking for x or y, and x or y never change. So the answer is 3 and 5. So 3 prints and then 5 prints here. Okay. Consider the following class declaration. We've got a date class. We've got a date method with nothing in its parameters. We've got a date constructor. We got a date constructor with a string month name, an int day and an int year, and we've got a void set date with an int month, int day, and int year. Okay, so consider modifying the date class to make it possible to initialize variables of the date of the type date with month given as a month name or number. So if we want to do one with a month name or number, we would have to do an overloaded constructor and make sure it had an int month, int day, int year. Okay. So given as a month name or number, day and year information when they are declared, as well as to set their values later using the method setDate. So setDate has int month, int day, int year. Okay. For example, the following code could be defined or should define the initialize 3 date variables. So we've got this one. That's that right there. We've got set date, which this would not work under current conditions. So we would have to create a set date method with a string month name, int day, int year. Okay, so these would look like this basically if I were to rewrite them here for you. So this is not in this, so I'm going to just, I'll do it afterwards. Okay, because we've got that on this one, right? It's an integer, and I already discussed it up here. And this would be, because this is an int month, but we need string month name, because that's a string, okay? So we're missing these two right here, basically, right? Because we've got that. That would align with this one right here. New date, that's the first one, because June. That's this one right here, which already existed. And then we've got this one right here, which already existed there. Okay, so the two with stars on it would be what we would have to implement if we wanted to run this without errors. Which of the following best describes additional features? What additional features should be present? Okay, these are the additional features that should be present in order for this code to run. All right, so what does it say? An overloaded version of setDate with 3 int parameters. No, we already have one with 3 int parameters. An overloaded version of setDate with 1 string and 2. That would be correct, all right? But we need both of them, so there's got to be a better answer than just that. A constructor with 3 int parameters. Well, again, that would be correct too, but we need this and this, right? So both an overloaded version of setDate with 3. Wait, setDate with 3 int parameters. We already have that one, so D can't be right. Both an overloaded version of setDate with 1 string and 2 int parameters, and a constructor with 3 int parameters. So there's that, 3 int parameters, 1 string, and 2 int parameters. Okay, so your answer for this one is E. 4 says, what is the output of the following code segment? Well, it does index of, and it finds this at position 0, right? So if I were to do and again, I'm still not seeing students write that above their strings. You got to do that, okay? So where does the first character where it finds this? It finds right there at position 0. So POS is 0. Is 0 greater than or equal to 0? Yes, so it goes in here. So because we know it goes in here, it cannot be this one, not found. We know that it went print. Okay, so let's do this. System.out.print. It does this, and then it does basically 0 to 0, because POS is 0. We determine that, and then this. So what's that position 0? Well, and it's not even that 0 to 0. Let's do this. I plug this in here, all right? So if I just did this and ran it, 0 to 0 is going to give me an opening, a caret, and a closing one with nothing in it, all right? Just a second. Sorry, I had to pause to sneeze. Okay, so anyway, it does that. But let's say if we just change this and we did 1 to 1, okay? It's going to just do a blank, all right? You know, if we did 0 to 1, it's going to print the H, right? Because it's always the first, it's basically this minus 1, which would be what's in position 0, right? But if you're already in position 0, it allows you to do a blank, because it doesn't go to -1, okay? Or if you were at, if you were at 1, 1, it wouldn't do 1, 0. you know, it wouldn't do position 1 and then 1 minus 0 would be H right here. It just does a blank. So if these are the same in the substring, if both the integer values are the same, then it just does a blank space, okay? So this one would be a blank space. So it's just this right here, A. Okay, 5, consider the following class. You've got a game class. You've got a static variable best score into an int score and string player. Which of the following constructors or methods in the game will not create a compile error? This will create a compile error right here, this score right here. This is a static method. Static methods can only hold static variables. So best score is fine in here, but score is non-static, so that will create an error. Okay. Normal constructors and or non-static methods and constructors. Constructors are always public. They're never okay. So so right here, game can the normal constructors and variables, they can store, or methods can store static or non-static variables. So these are fine in both of these. So 2 and 3 won't create a compile error, but this one right here, 1 will create it because score is not static. It's just a normal int variable. Okay. And this one, all right, I'm gonna write this in my notepad file here that I create. I'm basically gonna copy this and write it in here. It says consider the following incomplete declaration of a code class, which represents a code consisting of a letter and digits. The actual code is stored internally as a string variable, my code. Portions of the code may be hidden by changing the corresponding letter or digit to an X. Hidden portions may later be recovered. So this code that's passed in my code is going to basically be this stuff right here, right? Like code, or sorry, right here, when you create the code variable, you'll pass in that right there, all right? So that's going to be important. I'm going to copy that. I'm just going to assume that, so my code right here, if we're going to do this, I'll just say it's this right here. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to it because I'm basically going to put the index positions at the top. Okay. Alright, let's go back to this. Alright. Alright, so we got initialized variables, we got a code constructor that initializes my code, which is basically the code that's passed in. We're going to get the code, and then we're going to hide the code, which starts at position P1 and ends at P2. So when we hide it, then we're going to put X's there. So we got to create an X, basically a string that's got all X's in it that's the same size as my code. And we'll do that up in the constructor. And then we got recover, and it's going to recover position P1 through P2. So not only do we need my code, we're going to change my code up by hiding it with X's and stuff in there. But we're going to need the original code back that doesn't change so that we can pull those string characters back in. Okay. The methods hide and recover work is described in the comments. Note that if hide is called for a portion of that code that is already hidden, it has no effect. And if recover is okay, note that if hide is called for a portion of the code that is already hidden, it has no effect. And if recover is called for a portion of the code that is already clear, it has no effect. Okay, so basically, like if we have this, again, if I were to put this in here, okay, we want to hide 2 to 7. 2 to 7 is basically 2 to 6. So then this would be hidden with X's right here, which, I kind of do that, all right? And then if we wanted to recover 5 to 9, these two have X's in them, so we're going to recover them. 5 to 9 would basically be that, right? And so we have F1, 2, 3, and then so on, okay? Then we can hide and recover, all right? So the instance variables we're going to need. Okay. We can make them private if we want. Private string original code. And then we can call it like Xcode. Okay. So original code needs to be equal to the code, right? That's passed in. So this is what we're changing, my code. This is what we need to have the original one around, because once my code changes, it's going to lose the data. So we want to be able to bring it back. And then some of you just did, you could figure out that there's 10, 21 characters in there, X's, but what you could just do is just do a loop. And then populate it. So if you got your my code.length, okay, so what you could do is you could say that X code plus equals, your X's, basically. And so it runs through the length of whatever my code is. And this would be automated it more instead of just doing, X code equals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 21, like that. I think that's right. Instead of doing it like that, even though I am going to store that, I'm going to do this right here. Okay. Instead of doing it like this, if the user were to pass in a different type of code, we want that length and make the X's from it, right? This is kind of how credit card numbers work too, by the way. Alright, so we want to hide and recover. I don't want to go back up and down, so I'm actually going to bring that down here as well. Okay. Alright, so to hide these, so we're going to say my code equals, and again, what we want to do is whatever's passed in here, on the very first one, we have my code right here. We want to hide 2 to 7, right? So that's P1 and then P2, okay? So we want to hide. So we want the original my code dot substring 0 to P1 basically, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to do X's now from P1 to P2, wherever that is, okay? So we'll say plus, we called it Xcode. So I could say Xcode dot substring P1 to P2. And then what do we want? We want my code from P2 to the end. My code dot substring P2. You could do it like that, or you could do my code dot length. I don't know. I like doing it like this though. 2 to the end basically. Okay, so this goes from the beginning to wherever you want it to basically, I wanted those two, and then I wanted 2 to 7. So, again, let me, yeah. Okay, 2 to 7 would be 2 to 6, right? So 0 to 2 gives me my A and B. Then I do 2 to 7, which gives me that as x's. That would put the x's in there. Okay, so that would give me my A and B. That would give me my, 2 to 7, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gives me 5 x's. And because it's the X code that it's actually reading here, it's actually reading those ones right there and storing them in there. And then this one is giving me right there. So it rebuilds it, okay? And you could go through all of these and see, okay, 3 to 14, okay, it's going to hide all those. But now we want to look at recovering them. And so when we recover them, we want to get back to the original, okay? Because my code is now equal to this right here, this string. Okay, and if I were to put it all together, it would look like this. Okay. So now my code is fundamentally changed. I can't go back and get the original one. So that's why we created the original code variable, which stored the original one in here. Okay. So to recover it, we're gonna have to call the original one back. Okay. So we want to recover P1 to P2. So in order to do that, we say my code equals my code dot substring 0 to P1. So that's the original, and then whatever we want to recover, we do original code dot substring P1 to P2, and then my code dot substring P2 to the end, basically, okay? And so if my code is this, right, that's my code now, and then I want to do what? I want to recover 5 to 7, okay? I want to recover 5 to 7, so I got 0, 1, 2. I want to recover that right there. Wait, did I say 5 to 9? Recover 5 to 9, okay? 5 to 9, this is the original, right? So this is my code now. Original never changes. Okay, so 5 to 9 is basically those ones. So I want to recover those and put them back in there. So after I run this thing, this is going to be equal to what? It's going to be equal to 0 to 5. So 0 to 5, which is 0 to 4. It's basically that right there. Okay. Okay. And then we want to do the original, which is 5 to 9. So this is the original code, 5 to 9. Which is 5 to 8, basically. Okay. 5 to 9. Just really 5 to 8. That's that. And then at the end, we do, the my code 9 to the end. And if we were to kind of string that all together, it would be what? And let's just check it real quick and make sure that I'm not off. Should be fine. This is the recover. So we got A, B, X, 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 F, 1, 2, 3, all the way to the end. Okay. So, I would go back and make sure you're studying how to write out these. Again, they're not really that hard. It's always 0 to whatever number you're trying to get to. And then we're usually like plugging in some sort of new value in the middle somewhere. And then you need to go from wherever that second value is to the end. But it's kind of important that you know how to use strings. I mean, one of your AP questions, written questions, is a string question. And this stuff isn't that hard, but you need to kind of, and I've got all my videos on all of them, the line editor one, the HTML ones. I got 2 of those. So I've got a bunch of videos on how to write out strings, but you definitely need to know how to do this. But this video's done.